I'm gonna pick up in, the chapter here called Tell the Truth, or at least Don't Lie. It's Rule 8 in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. An antidote for chaos. I'm going to skip a little ahead, at least in my here version, to the pointed parts. Well, I guess I can read a little bit of these ones. Yeah, I'll go straight with this one. You have to listen very carefully and tell the truth if you are going to get a paranoid person to open up to you. I'm not paranoid. Totally aware, and there's a difference between paranoia and rational fear. And granted, the only thing I fear is the government continuing to do what they're doing. The people that are staying under the same roof as me at any point in time continuing to do what they do. And basically, the rest of society contributing to, well, I suppose the end game has not changed for them. And suggested suicide is still the end point. Anyways. We'll jump ahead again. He was aware, not stupid. He knew his behavior was socially unacceptable. He knew that any decent person was likely to react with horror to his insane fantasies, like peace on earth and mercy mild, or how about a world where we're actually moving towards equality and not repeating the cycles of racism, classism, to be overly broad. He trusted me and would talk to me because that's how I reacted. There was no chance of understanding him without that trust. That applies to a paranoid, the convict. I think that's applicable to all. If it works there, how well do you think it would work with everybody in each relationship, in every interaction in life? Trouble for him generally started in a bureaucracy. Such as a bank. Bank of America has legitimately contributed to this whole thing multiple times in multiple branches. He would enter an institution and attempt some simple task. He was looking to open an account, or pay a bill, or fix a mistake. Now and then, he encountered the kind of non-helpful person that everyone encounters now and then in such a place. That person would reject the ID he offered, or require some information that was unnecessary and difficult to obtain. Sometimes, I suppose, the bureaucratic runaround was unavoidable, but sometimes it was unnecessarily complicated by petty misuses of bureaucratic power. My client was very attuned to such things. He was obsessed with honor. It was more important to him than safety, freedom, or belonging. Freedom, belonging, honor, safety for me. Following that logic, because paranoid people are impeccably logical, he could never allow himself to be demeaned, insulted, or put down, even a little bit, by anyone. Water did not roll off his back. Because of his rigid and inflexible attitude, My client's actions had already been subjected to several restraining orders. Restraining orders work best, however, with the sort of person who would never require a restraining order. "I will be your worst nightmare," was his phrase of choice in such situations. And this guy actually said those words to people. I've wished intensely that I could say something like that after encountering unnecessary bureaucratic obstacles. But it's generally best to let such things go. My client meant what he said, however, and sometimes he really did become someone's nightmare. He was the bad guy in No Country for Old Men. He was the person you meet in the wrong place at the wrong time. If you messed with him, even accidentally, he was going to be one of the kind of people that fucks with me and stalks you, reminds you what you had done, and try to scare the living daylights out of you. He was no one to lie to. I told him the truth, and that cools him off. I had a landlord around that time who had been president of a local biker gang. My wife Tammy and I lived next door to him in his parents' small apartment building. His girlfriend bore the marks of self-inflicted injuries characteristic of borderline personality disorder. She killed herself while we lived there. Dennis, large, strong, French-Canadian, with a gray beard, was a gifted amateur electrician. He had some artistic talent, too, and was supporting himself making lamented wood posters with custom neon lights. He was trying to stay sober after being released from jail. Still, every month or so, he would appear on a days-long bender. He was one of those men who have a miraculous capacity for alcohol. He could drink 50 or 60 beers in a 2-day binge and remain standing the whole time. This may seem hard to believe, but it's true. I was doing research on familial alcoholism at the time, and it was not rare for my subjects to report their father's habitual consumption of 40 ounces of vodka a day. These patriarchs would buy one bottle every afternoon, Monday through Friday, and then 2 on Saturday to tide them over through the Sunday liquor store closure. Dennis had a little dog. Sometimes Tammy and I would hear Dennis and the dog out in the backyard at 4 in the morning. During one of Dennis's marathon drinking sessions, both of them howling madly at the moon. Now and then, on occasions like that, Dennis would drink up every cent he had saved. Then he would show up at our apartment. He would hear a knock at night. Dennis would be at the door, swaying precipitously, upright and miraculously conscious. He would be standing there, toaster, microwave, or poster in hand. He wanted to sell me these so he could keep on drinking. I bought a few things like this, pretending that I was being charitable. Eventually, Tammy convinced me that I couldn't do it anymore. It made her nervous, and it was bad for Dennis, whom she liked. Reasonable and even necessary as her request was, it still placed me in a tricky position. What do you say to a severely intoxicated, violence-prone, ex-biker gang president with patchy English when he tries to sell his microwave to you at your open door at 2 in the morning? This was a question even more difficult than those presented by the institutionalized patient or the paranoid flayer. But the answer was the same: the truth. But you bloody well better know what the truth is. Dennis knocked again. Soon after my wife and I had talked, he looked at me in the direct, skeptical, narrow-eyed manner characteristic of the tough, heavy-drinking man who is no stranger to trouble. That look means, prove your innocence. Weaving slightly back and forth, he asked politely if I might be interested in purchasing his toaster. I rid myself, to the bottom of my soul, of primate dominance motivations and moral superiority. I told him, as directly and carefully as I could, that I would not. I was playing no tricks. In that moment, I wasn't an educated, anglophone, fortunate, upwardly mobile young man. He was an ex-con Quebecois biker with a blood alcohol level of 0.24. No, we were two men of goodwill trying to help each other out in our common struggle to do the right thing. I said that he had told me he was trying to quit drinking. I said that it would not be good for him if I provided him with more money. I said that he made Tammy, whom he respected, nervous when he came over so drunk and so late and tried to sell me things. He glared seriously at me without speaking for about 15 seconds. That was plenty long enough. He was watching. I knew. For any micro-expression revealing sarcasm, deceit, contempt, or self-congratulation. But I had thought it through carefully, and I had only said things I truly meant. I had chosen my words carefully, traversing a treacherous swamp, feeling out a partially submerged stone path. Dennis turned and left. Not only that, he remembered our conversation. Despite his state of professional level intoxication, he didn't try to sell me anything again. Our relationship, which was quite good, given the great cultural gaps between us, became even more solid. Taking the easy way out or telling the truth. Those are not merely two different choices. They are different pathways through life. They are utterly two different ways of existing. And oh, how much I could speak to that, and oh my, is that true. One more time now. Taking the easy way out or telling the truth. Those are not merely two different choices. Sorry, the people I am staying under the same roof under. They can't seem to tell truth. They are different pathways through life. They are utterly different ways of existing. Manipulate the world. You can use words to manipulate the world into delivering what you want. This is what it means to act politically. This is spin. It's the specialty of unscrupulous marketers, salesmen, advertisers, pickup artists, slogan-possessed utopians, and psychopaths. Like the people stim blasting me, stalking me, suggesting, and oh yeah, they've kidnapped me. We'll stop there for now. It's the speech people engage in when they attempt to influence and manipulate others. It's what university students do when they write an essay to please the professor instead of articulating and clarifying their own ideas, aka being original. It's what everyone does when they want something and decide to falsify themselves to please and flatter. It's scheming and sloganeering and propaganda. It doesn't matter if you say it in Jesus' name. It doesn't make it any less true. To conduct life, it actually makes it more blasphemous to the religion you say you practice. To conduct life like this is to become possessed by some ill-formed desire, and then to craft speech and action in a manner that appears likely, rationally, to bring about that end. Typical calculated ends might include to impose my ideological beliefs, to prove that I am right, to appear competent, not actually be. Yes, this is way over the top. Again, people in the room. Ratchet myself up the dominance hierarchy to avoid responsibility, or its twin, to garner credit for others' actions, to be promoted, to attract the lion's share of attention, to ensure that everyone liked me, to garner the benefits of martyrdom. And they've got their sound equipment crickets out there. That's how I know I'm doing good. To justify my cynicism, to rationalize my antisocial outlook, to minimize immediate conflict, to maintain my naivety. One more on that one. To maintain your naivety. Yeah. They have sound equipment rigged up everywhere around the block and everywhere I've stayed for the past 12 months. So whenever I know I'm saying something right, they try to torture me. So, sound equipment, that means I must be calling out to people and they must not like it. So, one more on that one. To maintain their naivety. To capitalize on my vulnerability. Mine being that I tell the truth and I do the right thing to the best of my ability, even though it's cost me everything. Over and over and over again. Oh. To always appear as the sainted one. Or, this one is particularly evil. To ensure that it is always my unloved child's fault. These are all examples of what Sigmund Freud's compatriot, the lesser known but not much less brilliant, if at all, Austrian psychologist Alfred Adler called life's lies. Interesting. Someone living a life lie is attempting to manipulate reality with perception, thought, and action, so that only some narrowly desired and predefined outcome is allowed to exist. Wow. All of this is just so very hyper-personalized and applicable. If you've been following my story, and I hope there's people listening outside of ones under this roof. Actually, on that note, I'm going to make sure to open the window, give the audience more of what they want, you know. Gotta give the people a show. So I'll start that one from the top. Someone living a life lie is attempting to manipulate reality with perception, thought, and action, so that only some narrowly desired and predefined outcome is allowed to exist. A life lived in this manner is based, consciously or unconsciously, on two premises. The first is that current knowledge is sufficient to define what is good, unquestioningly far into the future. The second is that reality would be unbearable if left to its own devices. The first presumption is philosophically unjustifiable. What you are currently aiming at might not be worth attaining, just as what you are currently doing might be in error. The second is even worse. It is valid only if reality is intrinsically intolerable and simultaneously something that can be successfully manipulated and distorted. Such speaking and thinking requires the arrogance and certainty that the English poet John Milton's genius identified with Satan, God's highest angel gone most spectacularly wrong. The faculty of rationality inclines dangerously to pride. All I know is all that needs to be known. Pride falls in love with its own creations and tries to make them absolute. And then they try to start a church and make them absolute for all these others so they can lead more to a slaughter that's unnecessary. I feel bad for them if they actually give, like, if you join the Church of the Nazarene, just know The man would literally not piss on you if you were on fire to help you. But he will ask for your tithe money. I have seen people define their utopia and then bend their lives into knots trying to make it reality. A left-leaning student adopts a trendy, anti-authority stance and spends the next 20 years working resentfully to topple the windmills of his imagination. An 18-year-old decides, arbitrarily, that she wants to retire at 52. She works for 3 decades to make that happen, failing to notice that she made the decision when she was little more than a child. What did she know about her 52-year-old self when still a teenager? Even now, many years later, she has only the vaguest, lowest resolution idea of her post-work Eden. She refuses to notice. What did her life mean? If that initial goal was wrong, she's afraid of opening Pandora's box, where all the troubles of the world reside, aka where you can start to find solutions and actually, improve the world. But never mind. But hope is in there too. Instead, she warps her life to fit the fantasies of a sheltered adolescent. Much like the people that I'm surrounded with and having to do this way over the top reading for. Because if not, they like to use sound equipment, stim blast, suggestion, and for them, they like to cough and clear their throats, which I could totally understand, granted how much shit they've eaten and how much shit they spew. And they actually believe some of it, but most of it, it's just what they think people want to hear. So, as long as it gets tithe money. A naively formulated goal transmutes, with time, into the sinister form of the life lie. One 40-something client told me his vision, formulated by his younger self. I see myself retired, sitting on a tropical beach, drinking margaritas in the sunshine. That's not a plan. That's a travel poster. After 8 margaritas, you're fit only to wait the hangover. After 3 weeks of margarita-filled days, if you have any sense, you're bored stiff and self-disgusted. In a year, or less, you're pathetic. It's just not a sustainable approach to later life. This kind of oversimplification and falsification is particularly typical of ideologues. They adopt a single axiom. Government is bad. Immigration is bad. Capitalism is bad. Patriarchy is bad. Racism is good. Sexism is good. Wait, what? Fascism and torture are good? Oh, these people. Okay. Then they filter and screen their experiences and insist, ever more narrowly, that everything can be explained by that axiom in Jesus Christ's name. Make sure you add that, or else it cannot be the full axiom. They believe, narcissistically, underneath all that bad theory, that the world can be put right if only they held the controls by themselves, like the Wizard of Oz. There's another fundamental problem, too, with the life lie, particularly when it is based on avoidance. Seriously, I really hate doing this shit, but apparently an example must be set. Like, I really hate having to do demonstrations like this, but if you've been watching the quote-unquote show that is my life and not this video when I put it out, yeah. Anyways, particularly when it's based on avoidance. A sin of commission occurs when you do something you know to be wrong. A sin of omission occurs when you let something bad happen when you could do something to stop it? Hold on, I think I might have not read that properly. A sin of omission occurs when you let something bad happen when you could do something to stop it. Lots of sin of omission around here. This entire county, San Bernardino County, Inland Empire, currently in the city of San Bernardino, and my biggest disappointment still is in Rancho Cucamonga. You know, the former is regarded classically as more serious than the latter, than avoidance. I'm not so sure. I agree with Jordan Peterson. Consider the person who insists that everything is right in her life. She avoids conflict and smiles and does what she is asked to do. She finds a niche and hides in it. So does he. She does not question authority or put her own ideas forward and does not complain when mistreated. She strives for invisibility. Like a fish in the center of a swarming school. I'm really hoping after this chapter I can go back to just normal reading. But apparently I get stem blasted and less sound equipment when I do this. So, but a secret unrest gnaws at her heart. She is still suffering because life is suffering. She is lonesome and isolated and unfulfilled. But her obedience and self-obliteration eliminate all the meaning from her life. She has become nothing but a slave, a tool for others to exploit. Explicitly. She does not get what she wants or needs, because doing so would mean speaking her mind. So, there is nothing of value in her existence to counterbalance life's troubles, and that makes her sick. Makes both of them sick, and it makes me sick that they're consciously, willingly, complicitly, coherently, collaboratively doing so. Like, practicing ignorance to a degree that I've never before seen in my life. It might be the noisy troublemakers who disappear first when the institution you serve falters and shrinks, but it's the invisible who will be sacrificed next. Someone hiding is not someone vital. Vitality requires original contribution. One more time. Vitality requires original contribution. Not parroting, not read and regurgitate, but, actual, genuine, organic thought. Who would have figured? Hiding also does not save the conforming and conventional from disease, insanity, death, and taxes. And hiding from others also means suppressing and hiding the potentialities of the unrealized self. And that's the problem. I'm not hiding! I literally tell everybody where I am, and I've been followed, tortured, abducted, dosed. The federal government is literally in on this, the judicial system. United States of America. Don't worry, I don't have any actual proof yet, but if we were to go through the process of discovery and I have a decent enough lawyer, not even that high-powered, because any decent enough lawyer, attorney, whatever they're called, something like that. If you will not reveal yourself to others, you cannot reveal yourself to yourself. That is true. That is absolutely true. That does not only mean that you suppress who you are, although it also means that. It means that so much of what you could be will never be forced by necessity to come forward. This is a biological truth as well as a conceptual truth. Cough, cough, cough. Cricket, chirp, sirens. They really also particularly like to use sirens as another disrespectful sign to all the first responders who actually have lost their lives serving the people and the communities in them. But, just my, opinion. Who cares? When you explore boldly, when you voluntarily confront the unknown, you gather information and build your renewed self out of that information. That is the conceptual element. However, they also stole my passport, my birth certificate, driver's license, and social security card. However, researchers have recently discovered that new genes in the central nervous system turn themselves on when an organism is placed, or places itself, in a new situation, aka there's something for that. Oh, immersion therapy? Oh, anyways. These genes code for them. Sorry. My genes code for new proteins, and so do almost all other human beings. These proteins are the building blocks for new structures in the brain. Cough, cough, cough. This means that a lot of you is still nascent in the most physical of senses and will not be called forth by stasis, homeo or otherwise. You have to say something, go somewhere, and do things to get turned on. And if not, you remain incomplete. And life is too hard for anyone incomplete. It's been a few days now. My Opa's birthday, he would have been 106. That's why I'm so pissy about them taking my passport and specificity. I'm trying to go and retrace my roots. Go venture out into the unknown. Go actually see what's out there again and how I could help and how it could help me even. Who's out there? Find my tribe. They say birds of a flock. Birds of a feather flock together. I mean, this here flock just kind of, use sound equipment to mimic birds, crickets, sirens, dogs, other sadly synthetic machinations of organic sound, but if you say no to your boss or your spouse or your mother when it needs to be said, then you transform yourself into someone who can say no when it needs to be said. And no means no, motherfuckers. Not keep pressing. She definitely wants me to grope or molest her. If you say yes when no needs to be said, however, you transform yourself into someone who can only say yes, even when it is very clearly time to say no. If you ever wonder how perfectly ordinary, decent people could find themselves doing the terrible things the Gulag camp guards did, you now have your answer. Allude to Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago. By the time no seriously needed to be said, there was no one left capable of saying it. Good thing I'm here. How about no to fucking racism? How about no to systemic fucking ignorance? How about no to systemic fucking oppression? How about no to the fucking, it's like a blasphemy to science insofar as what we've done degrading democracy, really fascist capitalism hiding behind. But, every vote matters. And, every district zoned off where people all in the same geographic region all only count for how much? Yeah, and then they will find themselves doing terrible things. Only the most cynical, hopeless philosophy insists that reality could be improved through falsification. Cough, 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 cough. Such a philosophy judges being and becoming alike and deems them flawed. Cough, 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 cough. Such a philosophy judges being and becoming alike and deems them flawed. It denounces truth as insufficient and the honest man as deluded. Ain't that the fucking truth? Cough, 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 cough. One of the liars just returned. Oh, sorry, one of the omitters of truth, possibly. It is a philosophy that both brings about and then justifies the endemic corruption of the world. So yeah, can we please stop it? You guys really want to continue to participate and justify the endemic corruption of the world? Especially setting that as your example for the children? Come on, man. Are you proud of yourself? Cough, 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 cough! Pretty sure any rational human being that wasn't taking part of tormenting me in the way that they have been would be banging on the door, which it's unlocked, by the way, telling me to be quiet, keep it down, or anything of that nature. I'm hoping they're actually on the side of, alright, yeah, he's got a point, and there are other people listening. Maybe they might get the point. I don't know. I'm a hopeful guy. It is not vision as such, and not a plan devised to achieve a vision that is at fault under such circumstances. A vision of the future, the desirable future, is necessary. Such a vision links action, taken now, with important long-term foundational values. I'm going to take a pause real quick, give an allude to Martin Luther King Jr., and to remind y'all, it is no time to lose the fierce urgency of now. Okay? 2020. We had some momentum going. That got quelled up real quick. Right back to it. Yep. Man, that pisses me off. I gotta read it again. It is not vision as such, and not a plan devised to achieve a vision, even if the man has seen the top of the mountain, where little white and black children, brown, yellow, red, however you want to ignorantly categorize them by color, can all play, learn, and help earn together. That was my little add-on to Martin Luther King Jr. Why? Because categorizing people by color is fucking ignorant. Mind my language. And if you're just now tuning in or you're outside listening, my father is an immigrant. My mother is predominantly European white, I think Irish. I've also got Cherokee and Choctaw blood. Yes, one of my great, somewhere along the line, grandfathers were the Cherokee chief. So to this society, my eyes are yellow because of, they're slanted and I'm good at math. My skin is brown. My ass is white. They first categorized me as speaking black. And by the way, I bleed blood that is red. O positive. Universal donor. Anyways. A vision of the future, the desirable future, is necessary. Such a vision links action taken now with important long-term foundational values. Like, certain rights to be held self-evident. All men are created equal, not 3/5 of one. It lends actions in the present significance and importance. It provides a frame limiting uncertainty and anxiety. That's going to give me a panic attack. So if we actually had good plans, so hold on. First, if we were more informed, not informed, informed, and could, collaboratively, coherently, collectively, cohesively determine a plan, there would be less uncertainty and anxiety, along with racism, sexism, religionism. You pick your choice. I'm sad I have to do this because my manners and me being polite has been mistakenly dubbed as, one of those. Again, the door's open. Feel free to comment. It's not vision. It is instead willful blindness. It's the worst sort of lie. I'll repeat that. It's not vision. It is instead willful blindness. It's the worst sort of lie. It's subtle. It avails itself of easy rationalizations in Jesus' name. Willful blindness is the refusal to know something that could be known. And no, I'm not speaking to any and all Catholic, Christian people, or to that notion. Mormonism either, as they actually also believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ, if you did not know that. I'm referring specifically to the people under this roof with me, as well as the people who I've been forced to deal with in the past, primarily being Rock Hill Church in Rancho Cucamonga. They also would not piss on you if you were on fire. They just want your ties. Willful blindness is refusal to know something that could be known. It's refusal to admit that the knocking sound means someone's at the door. Wow, really? It's refusal to acknowledge the 800-pound gorilla in the room, the elephant under the carpet, the skeleton in the closet. It's refusal to admit to error while pursuing the plan. Every game has rules. Some of the most important rules are implicit. You accept them merely by deciding to play the game. The first of these rules is that the game is important. If it wasn't important, you wouldn't be playing it. Playing a game defines it as important. The second is that moves undertaken during the game are valid if they help you win. If you make a move and it isn't helping you win, then by definition, it's a bad move, and milk was a bad choice. Gotta throw a little fun in there. You need to try something different. You remember the old joke? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, while expecting different results. Such like the people that are consistently stim blasting, suggesting, and using sound equipment at me, to me, stealing my belongings, pillaging through my personal belongings, especially like my family type of, memorabilia, my sentimental items that are more or less family heirlooms. Yeah, they went through all that too. Anyways. If you're lucky and you fail and you try something new, you move ahead. If that doesn't work, you try something different again. A minor modification will suffice in fortunate circumstances. It is therefore prudent to begin with small changes and see if they help. Sadly, this is the small change. Pretty fucking ridiculous, ain't it? What's up, brother? It is therefore prudent to begin with small changes and see if they help. Sometimes, however, the entire hierarchy of values is faulty, and the whole edifice has to be abandoned. The whole game must be changed. That, my friends, is a revolution with all the chaos and terror of a revolution. We could try to avoid the terror and chaos and come to accords before we have to, revolutionize in the manners of, people past, like we've done for, a couple 100,000 years now. Anyways. It's not something to be engaged in lightly, but it's sometimes necessary. Error necessitates sacrifice to correct it, and serious error necessitates serious sacrifice. To accept the truth means to sacrifice. And if you have rejected the truth for a long time, then you've run up a dangerously large sacrificial debt. Forest fires burn out dead wood and return trapped elements to the soil. Sometimes, however, fires are suppressed or artificially. That does not stop the dead wood from accumulating. Oh boy. How many more pages of this I got? Might be taking a break. Perfect. I'm a little parched. Don't think I've ever read at this volume, but hey. Sooner or later, a fire will start. When it does, it will burn so hot that everything will be destroyed, even the soil in which the forest grows. The prideful, they've got the sirens going. That's how I know damn well I'm doing good. They literally always try to torture me most when I'm doing the most right thing, granted the circumstances and situation. Especially like when I brought up the whole concept and idea that instead of all these other ridiculous monuments that we have in our nation's capital, how about one with every name that we can at least find and know of etched on it that lost their life in the pursuit of liberty, and how about the pursuit of happiness? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? I'm going to put my money on the sad fact that that demographic is vastly going to be represented by African American males and females, children and elderly alike. Yeah. So instead of the billions going into lobbying towards, this next election year's candidacies between party members, let alone between Democratic and Republican, how about we at least put a monument in our nation's capital that is symbolic and shows us not only where we've been, where we come from, what we've done, and is actually a real-time monument that if any other names get added, the Breonna Taylors, George Floyds of the world, we get to see just how truly great we are. Just a thought. The prideful, rational mind, comfortable with its certainty, enamored of its own brilliance, is easily tempted to ignore error and to sweep dirt under the rug. Literacy. Literary. That was a nod to somebody. Existential philosophers, beginning with Soren Kierkegaard, conceived of this mode of being as inauthentic. Quite accurate. An inauthentic person continues to perceive and act in ways his own experience has demonstrated false. One more. An inauthentic person continues to perceive and act in ways his or her own experience has demonstrated false. He does not speak with his own voice, but just parrots others, reads and regurgitates, and is completely unoriginal. Hey, I speak from past experience. I used to do that a bit myself. But for the most part, I can't help but be original. Did what I want happen? No. Then my aim or my methods were wrong. I still have something to learn. Me too. That is the voice of authenticity. And this is the voice of Adam Granklin. Did what I want happen? No. Then the world is unfair. People are jealous and too stupid to understand. I feel like that's the general purview of the government. Or the outlook in their purview. Which is all of us, apparently. Especially me. Anyways, we're too stupid to understand, right? It is the fault of something or someone else. That is the voice of inauthenticity. It is not too far from there to say or do something, demanding that they should be stopped. Or they must be hurt. Or they must be destroyed. Whenever you hear about something incomprehensibly brutal, such ideas have manifested themselves. And apparently I am the actuality of their manifestation. Comprehensively brutal indeed. Psychological torture for a year now. There is no blaming any of this on unconsciousness, either, or repression. When the individual lies, he knows it. He may blind himself to the consequences of his actions, or her actions. He may fail to analyze and articulate his past, so that he does not understand. He may even forget, or she may even forget, that they lied, and so be unconscious of that fact. But they were so conscious in the present, during the commission of each error, and the omission of each responsibility, at that moment, they knew what they were up to. And the sins of the inauthentic individual compound and corrupt the state. So from the top down indeed. Hey, they speak for us, but they don't tell us what's actually going on. That's not me blaming anybody, that's just a fucking fact, folks. Excuse my language. Some things need to be cursed, like deeming us too stupid to give us the actual truth. I really do love that whole little quote in there. America's sadly not the greatest country in the world anymore. My favorite line. We used to be informed by great women and men. Well, I'll leave it there. Yeah, man. Someone power hungry makes a new rule at your workplace. It's unnecessary, it's counterproductive, it's an irritant, it removes some of the pleasure and meaning from your work, but you tell yourself it's alright, it's not worth complaining about, then it happens again. You've already trained yourself to allow such things by failing to react the first time. You're a little less courageous, your opponent's unopposed, is a little bit stronger, the institution is a little bit more corrupt, and... Wait, what? The process of bureaucratic stagnation and oppression is underway again? And they've contributed? By pretending it was okay? Why not complain? Why not take a stand? Hi, this is me complaining and me taking a stand. What is wrong with you guys? Seriously, I'm addressing people that are directly involved in this and are benefiting either monetarily or purely entertainment wise, but a lot of which are benefiting in both. Who's getting anything else out of this? I'd love to speak to those people. If you do, wait, hold on, I gotta do. Why not? Wait, no, I gotta go back to this one here. The institution is a little bit more corrupt. The process of bureaucratic stagnation and oppression is underway again, and they've contributed by pretending that it was okay. And not only okay, they glorified it. And it's been deemed as cool to take part in torture porn. And bring your kids in on it. And set an example that, hey, contributing to trying to get somebody to commit suicide is what's cool in society today. If there are kids listening, please don't. Maybe your parents are decent people, but in this they're wrong. Please don't let that be the example that you take and set forward into the reality of the next generation that is you. Please. Why not take a stand? If you do, other people, equally afraid to speak up, may come to your defense. I hope they can pick up that cricket sound. And if not, maybe it's time for a revolution. Viva la revolution. Maybe you should find a job somewhere else where your soul is less in danger from corruption. Or maybe just, go travel and go see the world. Go actually see where you come from. See how you got to be where you are. That's my thing. And they continue to deny me that. I'm hoping we can get the cricket noises. The synthetic cricket noises are a real interesting thing. Sorry, I gotta take a second. More documentation for. I'm sitting here reading, and I have the synthetic cricket noises occurring once more. I'm in my socks, but no worries. Let's go check that synthetic cricket noise out. Cough, cough. I know, I'm good. And if not, maybe it's time for a revolution. Maybe you should find a job somewhere else where your soul's a little less in danger from corruption, or your body less danger of being stim blast tortured, your mind from being stim blast tortured, suggested at, and yeah, suggested suicide. Honestly, I draw the line at suggested suicide. That is so beyond ridiculously screwed. How do you people derive pleasure from that? And those of you who are willingly taking monetary compensation and on top of it derive any sense of pleasurable entertainment in trying to get somebody to kill themselves, shame on you. For what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? That's a Bible verse in Mark 8:36. That's your $100. The Mr. Holy Preacher Man would have known that right off the bat. One of the major contributions of Alexander Solzhenitsyn's masterwork, The Gulag Archipelago, was his analysis of the direct causal relationship between the pathology of the Soviet prison work camp dependent state, where millions suffered and died, and only second to the Nazi regime's basically same exact basic thing of, fucking total eradication. There's a word for that, I think. And the almost universal proclivity of the Soviet citizen to falsify his own day-to-day personal experience, deny his own state-induced suffering, and thereby prop up the dictates of the rational ideology-possessed communist system. Sounds a bit like North Korea modern day, eh? Oh, this makes me sad, man. I have to read this, though. Yeah. And the almost universal proclivity of the Soviet citizen to falsify. Alright, let's make this up to date. And the almost universal proclivity of the American citizen to falsify his own day-to-day personal experience, deny his own state-induced suffering, and thereby prop up the dictates of the rational, ideology-possessed communist system. Democratic system. I did that in the American sense for a reason. Maybe you'll see why soon. It was this bad faith, this denial, that in Solzhenitsyn's opinion aided and abetted that great paranoid mass murderer, Joseph Stalin, in his crimes. Solzhenitsyn wrote the truth, his truth, hard learned through his own experiences in the camps, exposing the lies of the Soviet state. No educated person dared defend that ideology again after Solzhenitsyn published the Gulag Archipelago. Not unless they were forced to do so, in front of whoever was running that regime, for fear of, ending up back on an archipelago. No one could ever say again, what Stalin did, that was not true communism. Oh, man. Another book I loved and has extreme meaning to me, as my Opa, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, was a prisoner of war by the Japanese, luckily not the Nazis, in World War II. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Nazi concentration camp survivor who wrote the classic Man's Search for Meaning, I highly recommend it, drew a similar social psychological conclusion. Deceitful, inauthentic, individual existence is the precursor to social totalitarianism. Sigmund Freud, for his part, analogously believed that repression contributed in a non-contrivial manner to the development of mental illness, and the difference between repression of truth and a lie is a matter of degree, not kind. Oh, wow. Bravo, Jordan Peterson. Alfred Adler knew it was his lies that bred sickness. Carl Jung knew that moral problems plagued his patients, and that such problems were caused by untruth. All these thinkers, all centrally concerned with pathology, both individual and cultural, came to the same conclusion. Lies warp the structure of being. Yeah, that's a repeat. All these thinkers being, everybody from Viktor Frankl, Solzhenitsyn, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Alfred Adler, all centrally concerned with pathology, both individual and cultural, came to the same conclusion. Lies warp the structure of being, not reality. Untruth corrupts the soul and the state alike, and one form of corruption feeds the other, which warps the reality into, reality of hell. I choose Eden. I have repeatedly observed the transformation of mere existential misery into outright hell by betrayal and deceit. The barely manageable crisis of a parent's terminal illness can be turned, for example, into something awful beyond description by the unseemly and petty squabbling of the sufferer's adult children. Obsessed by the unresolved past, they gather like ghouls around the deathbed, forcing tragedy into an unholy dalliance with cowardice and resentment. The inability of a son to thrive independently is exploited by a mother bent on shielding her child from all disappointment and pain. He never leaves, and she is never lonely. It's an evil conspiracy, forged slowly as the pathology unfolds, by thousands of knowing winks and nods. She plays the martyr, doomed to support her son, and garners nourishing sympathy like a vampire from supporting friends. He broods in his basement, imagining himself oppressed. He fantasizes with delight about the havoc he might wreak on the world that rejected him for his cowardice, awkwardness, and inability. And sometimes he wreaks precisely that havoc. And everyone asks, why? They could know, but refuse to. And I need a break from reading this slow. I'm very proud of myself, actually, for not getting very dyslexic. Only when I changed speed a little bit, enunciating, I get kind of slow when it, yeah. I finished reading the chat. I hate going slow. I'm not gonna lie. I'll have to pick this one back up because I'm pretty sure I do actually need to read the rest of that chapter and put it on tape, but just not screaming it. So, till next time.